guys, and welcome to this video. So I'm Lawrence and I teach guitar, so if anyone would like any private lessons, please contact me through the links in the description, and also please check out my books which are on my website. But today we're going to be looking at hammer-ons from nowhere, which is a technique that I sometimes use to kind of alleviate a little bit of pressure from the right hand and make things easier for me. However, if you've got an extremely great right hand, then there's no need to worry about this kind of technique. It's just something if you're interested in it. And if you've got problems with this hand, then maybe it'll make your life a little bit easier like it does for me. But the first time I kind of found out about hammer-ons from nowhere, I'd heard of them before and I'd heard a lot of like myths about them. But I was going through Holdsworth's solo on Inner Urge a long time ago, so I don't really transcribe Holdsworth anymore, or anyone for that matter. But he was playing this little idea on the end section of Inner Urge when they're going down Lydian chords. So he played something like that. Okay, so he's just going down major thirds, or thirds, and then he would go up, down scale and back up again. And I was struggling to pick this bit. It was just too fast for me, and then I realized, he's not picking it. He's just hammering on that note and letting the left hand do the work. And finally I was able to keep up with the speed that Alan was playing that section at, and I thought, okay, well, this is something that I can add to my playing. So we'll look at a few little exercises to kind of incorporate this technique into our playing, and we'll also look at that major thirds exercise. But let's start with a groupings exercise. So I have talked about hammer-ons from nowhere on a Patreon video before, and we were doing the groups of pentatonics going up, and I use it for all the groupings. So for groups of 4, you know, I'm hammering on that note there when I'm going up. But I'll leave that to the video on Patreon, and all the tablature from today's lesson I'll put up there as well, because it's a little bit too much for me to put up all the to tell you all the picking directions in a video. But I'll try my best here. So let's take the major scale first. We'll look at a variety of different scales, and we'll just do groups of 4 with a major scale. So pick, let's go for A major, pick, and I'm doing both down strokes there, and then I'm hammering on, pick, again on the A string, and then hammering on the E string there on our C sharp, and then pick. And then the pattern restarts, but I'm probably going to pull off for this D on the A string there. So we get it's harder to do slower, but so any note on the previous string, instead of doing some dodgy, tricky picking kind of stuff, then I'm just hammering it on. And you can see the amount of speed that you can build up doing this. There's no way I could play at those kind of speeds if I was having to pick each note. So then when we get to the G and B strings, I need to use the second finger there. So I've got the first finger free to hammer on the G string. Yeah, I suppose you could use the first finger and hammer on with the second finger on our D there on the G string. But these are just things you need to think about it, because you need a finger free to allow yourself to do the hammer on. So the fingering is important. But once you get these flowing, You know, you can really let those fingers run. So there's a little exercise. As I say, I'm not going to go into too much detail on these in the video, but I will write all this stuff out on the PDF on Patreon. So let's change scale. So you see exactly the same thing there. I played a melodic minor there. So I just flattened the third of the major scale. Okay, so we could also apply this to symmetrical scales or any scale. So, you know. So there's a whole tone scale there, and I was just moving up the neck. So you have to kind of adapt the fingering for the B and G string, obviously, just because of the major third and the tuning there. But it can be done, and obviously we could also do this with any scale. So let's try the diminished scale. Okay, a little bit faster on that one. And obviously you could apply them to different groupings, so groups of 5, groups of 6, and you just need to think about how's best to group them or finger them. So here on groups of 5, I'd probably go move down in thirds, as that's the best way that I found to do that particular grouping. So just about going through these different groupings and find the best way to do it. Obviously you can do all this going down as well. So let's go on to a different exercise. Back to the major scale again. We'll go to that thirds exercise that Holdsworth was using in his in a rail solo. So I played Lydian there just because that's the scale that Holdsworth's using. Let's go to an all major scale. Okay, so here we're going to have a pick, hammer on, pick. This is all hammered and pulled off, and then pick, pick, pick. So I kind of picked every 6th note there at the end, but so all of that, pick, pick, and then that's all just with the left hand, and then pick, pick, pick. And that just allows it to flow. There's no way I could, as I say, do all of this if I was having to think about the picking in the right hand. I know some people could, but for those of you with a weakness in the right hand, you may want to consider incorporating this technique into your playing. And again, you can do this with any scale, these little patterns. Okay, so now we're going to have a variation on that previous pattern, which is just going to be going down chromatically. Minor thirds. But we're going to finger it a little bit more logically. So I'll try and explain that one again. So we've got pick. All of those notes were just hammered on and pulled off. And then pick on the B string, pick on the G string, pick on the D string, and then finally pick on the A string. It's a little bit of a tricky one, that one. It's kind of a Holdsworthian little exercise, but yeah, so at speeds, these fingerings really start to flow, and it just gets rid of the need to worry about our right hand. So we can think about incorporating these ideas into language. something like that. So there, I'm picking, I'm thinking like this is a A major 9 sound kind of thing. There I'm just sweeping across the strings, and then hammer on, pick, and then hammer on, picking the top string. Something like that. Okay, so you see it's just a little note here or there, but it really gives me extra time to get my picking ready for the next string. So the idea at the start was just a Messiaen mode 3 idea. So we've got this. So I go through the Messiaen modes in the Outside Secrets book, by the way. And as I say, I think the only book that I talk about hammer-ons from nowhere is in the pentatonic book. So yeah, that Messiaen mode 3 idea, and then I'm hammering on the minor third there on the next string, and then taking that idea up the octave. Okay. So that's the first little bit there. And then I've carried on doing some hammer-ons from nowhere. I'm hammering on the B string there. Something like that. I can't quite remember the idea. As I say, I'll transcribe it on Patreon when I listen back. But there was something like what I played earlier. But just, so you see, usually I use these hammer-ons from nowhere when I need to go to a note on the previous string, and then it just means I can keep my pick on the same string and not have to worry about going back or doing any outside picking or whatever kind of other techniques that you can use to do this. But there are kind of, when I first heard about the hammer-on from nowhere technique, there was like this, seemed like this kind of myth. And I heard that Alan Holdsworth would play everything with just hammer-ons and not use any pull-offs. And I don't believe that for 1 second. I think most of the time Alan was going down, he would have been pulling off. However, people that know a lot more about Alan's playing than me, as I say, I haven't spent a long time learning his stuff. I've just listened to him a lot. But I know there are other guys out there who can literally sound like Alan, and that's and I respect that in many ways. And they kind of say, Alan would have been playing like that with the hammer-ons going down. So I don't understand the benefit of that. Maybe there would be a bit of benefit as far as like general finger dexterity, but I've never really seen an issue with pull-offs or hammer if we're going down the scale, say. You know, I don't see the problem with, I mean, a hammer-on, I could hammer on like that, but the pick kind of articulates it a bit, so I don't really see the benefit of it. I only see the benefit of it somewhere, something like that, where it saves me from having to go back with a pick, and I can just hammer on that single note. And it really allows me to flow and not have to worry about this hand. It also helps me with my timing at speed, because sometimes if I'm having to do a lot of right hand picking, then it can, sometimes my timing can come off, whereas if I don't need to worry about it, I can think more about landing the phrase and just let the left hand do the work. So, as I say, I'll write all these exercises out on my Patreon, and I intend on doing some more videos this month as Christmas is coming up. I did get a tree, but the lights have just run out of battery there, so I was hoping to have some Christmas lights. I know it's not the biggest tree in the world, but it's a bigger tree than no tree. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching the video, and I hope this gave you something to mess around with, and maybe it helps some of you guys that are struggling a little bit with the right hand, with a different approach to doing these things. And as I say, I'll try and get some more videos done this month. Maybe it'll be nice to get a Christmas video done with Alfie, talking about some things, guitar-related subjects. And if you would like any private lessons, please contact me through the links in the description, or check out my books. As I say, some messy Mode 3 stuff in there, and lots of Ender stuff in Outside Secrets. There's the Pentatonic book, which obviously I've done lots of videos on the channel about, and the Visualization book, which I did a video a couple of weeks back on. But anyway, guys, I hope you're enjoying the Christmas season or the Advent season, and I'll be back very shortly for another video.